sun on your outdoor activities.
Popular hiking trails shut down as a wildfire spreads in Utah.
I don't know if I'll ride them again because they'll never look the same in my lifetime.
And a closer look at sunset colors.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. At least 8 deaths in the U.S. are now blamed on Beryl. The once powerful hurricane is now a tropical depression. The storm brought torrential rain and powerful winds to Texas on Monday. Right now, more than 2 million Texas customers are without power. Officials say it will take days or even in some cases weeks just to restore. That's going to be a major problem in Houston, where the heat index today will climb to 105 degrees. Another problem in Houston is flooding. More than a foot of rain fell in just 48 hours in some places. That's typically what falls over the entire summer. The strong winds also toppled hundreds of trees, many landing on homes. And right now, Beryl's over Arkansas with maximum sustained winds of around 30 miles per hour. It is expected to bring heavy rain along with those winds to the state, and many streets are also going to get flooded. Ashley Lunningham is in North Little Rock this morning with more.
Yeah, moving from severe into flash flooding now as we go into this morning. I'm just going to show you. This is an area that was extremely flooded not just 2 hours ago. Where I'm standing right now, this dirt right here is where the water level was. Fortunately, the city of North Little Rock has turned on a pump, and so all of that water has been gone. All that's left is a little mud residue. But we've received several reports, not just here in North Little Rock, but also in Little Rock, in Benton, in Bryant, where they're having severe flash flooding, at least this morning, going into this morning after Hurricane Beryl came through.
And we now want to take a closer look at the situation in Texas, where recovery efforts will take weeks, if not months. This is Sargent, Texas, along the Gulf Coast. As you can see, all the water from the rain and storm surge flooded this community right here. Here's another town along the Gulf. The U.S. Coast Guard took these photos as they flew missions over that region. There were numerous rescues across Texas as well. This man, look at this, found himself trapped on his truck in Houston. The fire department, dropping a life ring down from a ladder truck and lifted him to safety. Other firefighters rescued people from their homes. Here, there was a case, a man, of course, you just saw was trapped after a tree fell in his home right here. They were able to pull him to safety. And you're hearing it here. That's what those powerful wind gusts sounded like as they blew through downtown Houston. And check this out right here. This is Lake Livingston, just north of Houston. You normally would not see giant waves like this on this lake. Jay Moreau shows us more of the impact Beryl had across Texas.
Beryl rapidly intensifying as it sweeps ashore as a Category 1 hurricane early Monday morning near Matagorda Bay.
And then all of a sudden you just heard this explosion.
Corpus Christi to Galveston. Storm surge, strong winds causing damage to homes and businesses.
My roof was gone. It just went.
Downing power lines, communities in the dark.
This is still a dangerous situation.
Some say they expected the worst, but made it out unscathed.
We were all in that cone of uncertainty for a while, and it could have been anywhere.
A path of destruction, causing chaos closer to Houston as Beryl moves in, but downgrading to a tropical storm. Roadways looking more like lakes. First responders on Highway 288 in Houston rescuing a man from a submerged vehicle. A sense of fear and worry, a common feeling for many every hurricane season.
Puts us at a little bit of fear. You always have to be worried about it and what's going to happen.
And what's left of Beryl will now work its way to Canada. Over the next 2 days, it will bring rain and a chance of severe storms to portions of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. The greatest risks of storms today is along the Ohio River Valley. And Texas isn't the only place where the heat will soar today. 160 million Americans are facing heat alerts today. That's nearly half of the U.S. population. While temperatures will rise on both coasts, the West is really sizzling. Excessive heat warnings stretch from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. We have 2 reports starting in Las Vegas, where they are taking a new approach to helping people suffering from heat illnesses.
City of Henderson fire departments are planning to equip every engine and truck with polar pods to provide cold water immersion to heat victims.
Cold water immersion is the preferred treatment for heat-related emergencies. We are the first in Southern Nevada to implement these pods. The pods that we're implementing are what's known as polar pods. It's essentially a large bag that zips up and is a watertight seal. It allows us to completely fill up with ice and cold water, allow for some drainage of the excess water so there's a continuous flow of cold fluids going through there. If you're a victim of heat exhaustion, your core temperature is going to be above 105 degrees, so you're already in a state of shock at that point.
Cold water immersion is expected to be more effective than traditional methods alone, which typically involve getting the patient out of the heat, cooling them with fluids, and starting IVs.
So scenarios where we would have to, as fire department, cool somebody down would be typically any time in the summertime. You have pools, we have trail responses. Our own first responders can become patients themselves. Fighting a fire on a hot July day where it's 116, 120 degrees, such as last weekend, everyone's susceptible to heat exhaustion and heat stroke.
Excessive and extreme heat can cause damage to infrastructure. We work to minimize that damage, proactively.
Farmers in the area say the roads have been damaged before by excessive heat, which can create problems for their equipment.
It does create a bit of a problem for traffic, especially with the tractors, because we haven't got a lot of suspension. And so when you're driving over the humps, you kind of get a lot of movement, and there's a lot of product flying around and things getting broken.
WashDOT got the road hazard patch, but now crews are on the lookout for similar issues as the hot weather sticks around.
Concrete expands. So when it expands, it kind of starts to put pressure on each other. So you could create more friction, and then one tends to pop.
The asphalt on top can become more fluid-like or doughy if it's subjected to enough sustained heat. People who work outdoors have new extended protections to better deal with the heat. That includes access to water, shade, and rest, which now means a short break every 2 hours when temperatures climb above 90 degrees.
I think for the most part, it's quite a drastic change. And I guess everyone's just taking it easy and staying hydrated.
And it's not just the West Coast feeling the heat. Severe heat had many New Yorkers sweating it out in traffic yesterday. Officials say the 3rd Avenue Bridge got stuck in the open position because the steel on the structure expanded due to the heat. The FDNY spent much of Monday afternoon, trying to cool the bridge off. By early evening, the bridge was reopened to traffic. The National Weather Service says Monday was the hottest day of the year in the Big Apple. Firefighters in southern Utah are still battling the Silver King fire. The fire has burned over 11,000 acres in just a few days and forced some residents to even leave their homes. Christian Saida has more on the fire's impact.
Several trails are not open to the public due to the fire danger.
All the trails that are closed right now, I've been on since I've been here this year. But we just got lucky and rode them before it burnt.
Fuller is talking about the Silver King fire. As it burns near Marysvale, it's also threatening some popular trails.
I don't know if I'll ride them again because they'll never look the same in my lifetime.
Fuller explains that the wildfire did cause some concern if it gets closer.
We was ready to leave if it got any closer to the camping area where we're at.
But
it looked like it was slowing down a little bit, and it was getting towards dark. When it gets towards dark, the fires lay down for the night. Then they flare back up the next day. I'm not worried about it right this minute because it's going more away from where we're camped at.
He hopes the fire will be put out soon, but for now, Fuller plans to enjoy some time on the dirt road away from the flames.
So there's some trails out there we're going to go do.
Flood warnings remain active in Davenport, Iowa, as the Mississippi River overflowed its banks. Water is now covering roads, parks, parking lots. Is expected to remain high possibly into next week. Major evacuations are not expected, but recreational boating on the river is prohibited until further notice. And if you're looking for more great weather content, don't forget to check us out, our podcast, Off the Radar. We cover a variety of topics related to the weather and the ways it can impact your life. You can find Off the Radar anywhere you get your podcasts. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll take an in-depth look at how hurricanes are classified and how it's different from tornadoes. And we'll help you better understand the UV index.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti. We look at the Northeast. It's another hot and humid day in the Northeast. Today we'll have highs in the 80s and 90s. There may be a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. You see some of that action getting going 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you get a thunderstorm, it's not going to last very long. Some of these may become strong to severe with damaging wind, the primary threat. Now, we'll get a greater chance for downpours as we go into Wednesday and into Thursday. You see some of that action 5 o'clock on Wednesday right there, and that threat will extend right into the day Thursday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. More high heat and even higher humidity as we move through your Tuesday afternoon. Only a couple of showers and thunderstorms may pop up, which will save a lucky few from the worst of the heat and humidity. We will still be looking at that chance through late Tuesday evening and again on Wednesday afternoon. A couple more showers and thunderstorms, but temperatures will easily reach the mid to perhaps upper 90s across the area, except under some of that rain-cooled air. Still more mid-90s for Wednesday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at your afternoon highs today. We are going to be in the 90s for the most part, lower to mid 90s. We do have some pockets of 80 degrees depending on what cloud cover looks like and the timing of showers and storms. So we'll see some isolated showers along the Gulf coastline for Florida and Alabama and Mississippi as well heading into Tuesday about midday, and then we'll see those showers shift to the East Coast in the later afternoon. We'll also see a good line of showers develop throughout Wednesday early morning.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Hurricane Beryl made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. Unlike tornadoes, hurricanes are classified before they happen on something called the Saffir-Simpson scale. Meteorologist John Gum gives us a closer look at those classifications.
Category 1 hurricane has winds starting at 74 miles per hour. And this type of hurricane, the weaker hurricanes, can certainly produce scattered damage. It can give us problems with some storm surge, flooding, heavy rainfall, even isolated tornadoes. Now, as we ramp up to a Category 2 hurricane, that's when the winds start to get stronger. 96 miles per hour is the threshold for that one. And those winds, they're really dangerous. And that's when we begin to see moderate damage occurring. As we ramp up higher to the major hurricane level, which starts at Category 3, that is when things start to get extremely dangerous. We have major hurricane force winds now that occur. And you get not just scattered damage, you get extensive damage that begins to occur as those winds climb higher, 111 to 129 miles per hour. This is a major hurricane. But as we ramp it up, the damage gets worse. A Category 4 hurricane now has wind speeds of 130 miles an hour to 156 miles per hour. A Category 4 hurricane causes catastrophic damage, not just from the winds, but from the storm surge, that big wall of water that gets pushed inland. And as we ramp it up even higher, we go to the Category 5 hurricane. Catastrophic damage with the Category 5. Extreme winds, 157 plus miles per hour with the Category 5 storm, and that's not going to leave much standing. Structures, they fail, and the storm surge that comes with it too can totally destroy buildings near the coast. Category 5 storms we certainly don't want to see.
Well, this year, Wisconsin saw an unusually warm winter and it's been an unusually wet summer season. And while rain can be a hazard for berry farmers, it's not all bad news. Eric Peterson has more.
This year's crop, I would say it's definitely above average.
Porter's Patch owner Troy Porter says it's also been very wet on his Shawano County farm.
We've been getting more than our share of rain. You get these pounding rains that last for long periods of time. That's really hard on these ripe berries because they are a soft flesh fruit, and it will just keep pounding that berry. We won't know what the final results are if we can get them all harvested. That just depends on this rainy season we're in and the amount of moisture we get.
Porter says he expects the raspberry picking season to continue for a few more weeks. Across the property, a quarter-acre field is filled with berries of blue.
This clump here, you want them to be a nice dark blue.
Porter says blueberries started to grow about a week early this year. He says he's been battling one type of bird ever since.
One of our techniques to try to keep robins away, the bird, our state bird, is this kind of deters them in the beginning, but they tend to get used to it. But we get an influx of robins coming in. They just migrate here. Somehow they know when we got ripe blueberries. And if you let them, they'll eat every one of these berries.
And we know this, when it's both humid and hot outside, it can feel miserable. Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski shared a post on TikTok comparing hot and humid days to a common kitchen appliance.
With all the heat and humidity going on so far this summer, sometimes you got the heat without humidity, and sometimes it's humid but not all that hot. But when they cross paths together, it can be very intense. And as far as an analogy, when we have heat and high levels of humidity together, would it be, example, like a toaster oven? Would it feel like a microwave oven? Maybe a steamer or a conventional oven outside? I'll give you a minute. If you guessed pressure cooker or steamer, you're correct, because using the moisture and the heat together to cook, say, rice, for example, is what it will feel like outside with high heat and high humidity on our bodies. For the Weather Authority and the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
And when it comes to heat and how it feels outside, there is more to consider than just the number on the thermometer. The ultraviolet index, or the UV index, also plays a role here. Let's take a look at a recent TikTok from Maine meteorologist Emily Santom to get a better understanding of UV index.
Let's talk about UV index. A popular phrase in the summer is, what's the UV index right now? So let's explain what the UV index value is. The National Weather Service uses the UV index value to help determine the effects of the sun on your outdoor activities. It's forecasted using ozone levels, cloudiness, and elevation in your area. For example, anywhere that has higher elevation will likely have a higher UV index than anything at sea level. The UV index is also effective at solar noon or the sun's highest point for the day. This is typically around lunchtime or early afternoon. If you're anywhere on the coastline in Maine or even coastal New Hampshire, here's a look at your UV index forecast for the next couple days. The highest was Monday at an 8. That's because we had a lot of sun for Monday. Moving forward throughout the week, we're looking at 5s and 6s just because it's going to rain and be cloudy a lot. If you have high UV index values in your area, make sure you're drinking lots of water and staying out of the sun.
And some of the most beautiful and really colorful times of the day are when the sun first appears today and also when it makes its exit for the night. Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains why.
Sunrises and sunsets often produce beautiful colors in the sky. But what makes the sky turn different colors during these times? To begin with, we need to understand how we see color. Light travels from the sun and through the atmosphere in invisible waves. Light that looks white to us is actually made up of many different colors of differing wavelengths. For example, blue has a short wavelength, while red is created by longer wavelengths. At sunrise and sunset, the sun is very low in the sky, which means that the sunlight we see has traveled through a much thicker amount of atmosphere. Because blue light is scattered more strongly by the atmosphere, it tends to be scattered several times and deflected away in other directions before it gets to us. This means there is relatively more yellow, orange, and red light left for us to see. If there is dust or pollution, the color difference is intensified. So you could see a red sky, and even the color of the sun may appear red.
And check out this cool photo of a recent sunset over the Navajo Mountain in Utah. Unfortunately, part of what makes this sunset so beautiful is the smoke from the nearby Silver Lake wildfire that we mentioned earlier. This photo was sent to us from a viewer via Chime In. And we love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And time now for a short break, but first we soar over Green Bay's Renard Island.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Today we're looking at the remnants of Hurricane Beryl working its way across the Midwest here, specifically through Louisiana, now moving its way up into Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and it'll continue moving its way to the north into northern Indiana and Michigan for the day tomorrow, and also the Ohio Valley area. By the time we get into the next few days here, look at all the sunshine out across the plains. You got more of it on the way for Thursday as well as it starts to heat up.
Well, a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and weakening Beryl quickly racing off to the northeast. By this afternoon, it's long gone. Could see a couple showers of storms develop in around the San Antonio area in Texas, maybe a storm around New Orleans. And then Wednesday, mostly to partly sunny to get the day started. Afternoon temperatures in the 80s and 90s. And could see a couple of isolated showers of storms across the Texas Panhandle or maybe South Texas. Otherwise, the rest of the region will be just hot sunshine and dry.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Boy, that big dome of heat, it just keeps expanding, now covering really most of the western U.S. at this point. The coolest spots on the map, including Jackson Hole at 85, but you see 90s and triple digits just about everywhere else, aside from in the fog around San Francisco at just 67. You can see that heat dome continuing to hold tight for an excessive heat warning today through most of the Northwest. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
In Portland, meteorologist Dave Selesky took stock of the dangerous heat and did a little experiment.
How hot is it? Dangerous heat. Here's a little heat gun. Pavement right now. You don't want to walk on this in your bare feet. You don't want to have your pets walking on that. It's 144 degrees on that bare pavement. What you want to make sure you're doing today, you've got sunglasses on, you've got sunscreen on, you're wearing light colored, loose fitting clothing. Sans the tie if you can, get rid of that. Make sure you have plenty of fluids, water, Gatorade, something to stay hydrated, not alcohol. And again, to show you just how hot things are, we're conducting a little bit of experiment right here at KATU. Back behind the windshield, we're cooking some cookies just to show you how hot and how dangerous these temperatures are. Inside this car right now, we showed you the pavement was 144. Inside this car, pavement, excuse me, it's 100 and, let me get over there, it's 151 degrees inside that car. So again, this is telling you, yeah, have a little bit of fun with this, but also show you that how dangerous heat like this can be.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.